Welcome back again to yet another Instagram Live, coming live from you from Vienna, from the Lightbridge studio. Really happy we're back here once again, once per month. We're doing this little live stream here to keep us all updated what's going on in the world. It's really exciting today. We got a great topic. We're going to be talking about reverse engineering, the standard workflow that we have in the industry in lighting, and how we adapted this and how by reverse engineering this, we came into the CRLS. But that's a little bit ahead of time. We're going to go straight in here and see how we can get along. So here we go. Thanks everybody for joining. We're waiting here until Etienne goes us live. We see who's on here. Hi everybody. Welcome back again. Great to see you all. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all healthy. I hope the weather's okay for you. I hope all the strikes are not affecting you too much. I hope your health is okay. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? I mean, I was just thinking the other day, we just got out of the pandemic and we thought, bam, we made through this. We really made progress. We were able to use the pandemic to actually, explain what we're doing here much better. And then suddenly we have these strikes and here we are again. We're starting over again. So I thought before we go into reverse engineering the reflectors, I heard an amazing podcast that I'd quickly like to talk to you about because I always think it's important to learn, to progress, to see what we can do. And I guess that's all the reason we're doing this here today. So I just quickly want to talk about change because that's a huge thing. And I was listening to this podcast, something I can really recommend by Simon Sinek, and they had Cassandra Worthy on, and we were talking about change and how we actually can prepare for it because there's something behind this I think that's worth talking about. So when we talk about change, one thing is really clear, right? Change is always going to happen. There's always going to be something in our life that is not constant. The only thing constant to change is change. Reed said that. So what I did here as well, because AI is becoming this huge thing here, I just typed in stuff into Midjourney to give us some pictures in the background while I'm talking to give a feeling. So here, just typed in change and see what Midjourney came up for us here. So that's going to be going along with us. So we have to embrace this, right? There's always something going to be happening for us. And I think that's just the way life is. And the other thing is, and I think that's the most important part about it, is the fear of change is always going to be there. If something happens to us and it's not something we're used to, we're going to first get fear. And that's actually going to block us. It's like a closed door that doesn't let us go through this door, actually to see if this change actually can make our lives better, or how we can improve it, or how we can go on from there. So this is, I think, the main thing, and what I took out from this podcast is that everybody has the opportunity to prepare for a change. So what does that mean? That means if change, we know it will happen, but if we prepare for it correctly, we actually can say, been there, done this to a certain degree, I'll get through this. Let's say we went through the pandemic. We had no idea what that meant, and now we're going into the writer strikes and to the actor strikes, and we say, hey, we went through the pandemic, we'll be able to get through this too. So there's some kind of preparation there that can help us do something, right? To go on with our lives. And I think that's the most important part, just to put it out again. Everybody has the opportunity to use change to make things even better. And we have to go through this fear factor here, right? But just to quickly have a look at this, what this actually means more in practical terms, just think about this kid standing, up on a high ladder wanting to jump into the water. There's fear there, right? There's something there to say, oh my God, I don't want to jump. There's fear. So as soon as that kid gets over that and actually does jump, oh my God, it's a lot of fun. You'll see this kid running up all the time and suddenly there's no more fear. Suddenly that kid does nothing else the whole day but to climb up there and to jump into the water, and even crazier jumps. So actually something happens or something triggers there, and he was able to have fun that he was able to have before, right? So something happened there. So I'd really like to analyze this because emotions are the filmmaker's most important tool, right? We create emotions with light. I mean, that's our job, right? So I think we have to look at emotions in a little bit different way than everybody else. Actually, it's our important tool, so really have to look at this. So if we look into this, we have to understand feelings, right? We have to understand what moods we want to create, what emotions that's going to trigger for the audience, and the same thing comes back to us too, right? So understanding how it impacts our body is really important to feel it in my stomach, do I feel my muscles cramping up? Oh, there's maybe fear. Maybe I can breathe through this. We know this when we have pain, right? When we have a stomach ache, we can breathe through the pain. It's much better to not ignore pain, but actually to breathe through it, to let go of it. And the same thing happens with fear as well. The same, another part over here is we can label feelings. We can say this feels like this feels like that. So we can put into categories. We do the same thing with moods on set, right? We say this feels like this is a mood for this is a mood for this. And we can do the same thing with our fears. So we take this weird thing of fear and emotions out of it, and we actually can put it into a really professional tool for us. And it's a crazy thing, right? So it's not just about having feelings, but also knowing how does it feel when we have these feelings, to really understand what this means, because we are the first audience when we're creating a scene with lighting, right? So we're the first person watching it. How does it feel for us? So it's the same thing with change. If we can accept how do we feel, we can pass through there and actually see the opportunities that are out there. And I think that's something that really got me, for example, through the pandemic, to know I actually can create something better. We invented this whole Instagram Live thing during the pandemic. I saw a possibility for us to connect, and I love doing this once per month. I learned this through that. So I was able to go through that fear to be able to create new and better things for me, right? So it has a lot to do with practice, right? So we can create opportunities through change. We can practice that, like the boy trying to jump into the water. Maybe first time going up all the way the tower is too high. You just jump from the side into the water, that's fine. Then you try 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, you're gonna get better at it. And the same thing happens with us when we go through change, when we go through fear. We can practice this, we can get into this. And I think one of the major things is about learning. If we constantly continue to learn, we constantly know we're going to be facing things we don't understand yet, but we can learn them and we can go on. And then actually we become better at our job. May this be a new light source, may this be a new camera, may this be AI functions that we learn to see how can we use them. You know, what's dangerous, what shouldn't we do, and what should we do? But if we don't look at it, if we don't breathe through it and say what can we use for the better, and we focus on the better, I think that's the best part for humanity. We always have to focus on the better. I think it's always about optimism, a bit of optimism. To quote Simon Sinek again, right? So the main thing is about asking questions if we want to learn something new, right? If we want to learn something, it's about being very professional about asking the right questions. And the broader these questions are we can ask ourselves, the better the answer is going to be. Because if we focus on something laser tight onto one little thing, we're only getting an answer for this, but actually we're trying to understand the bigger scope there, right? And I think that's the most amazing thing. And honestly, that's not from me. That's from a Nobel Prize winner, from Anton Zeilinger, Austrian actually, really proud of that because he won a Nobel Prize for light. And he asked really basic questions about light. And so he came up with answers absolutely astonishing. I think I mentioned it on the last Instagram Live, but do check that out on the web. It's highly exciting what he's been doing. So, and just to take his quote, the really big breakthroughs always come from fundamental research. And that so felt right for me. This feeling what we've been doing in the Lightbridge, developing these reflectors together with Christian, it felt so fundamental, so basic questions I did not want to ask myself as a professional gaffer, because I'm professional. I'd have to think about what is light? Why is light great? Why is this light great? I know what I'm doing, right? But to pass through this, to really become better at what I was doing, to open myself up to actually these questions was a big thing. So the whole thing is, when I started the Lightbridge, was the same thing. Why do I want to start a company? Why do I want to go through this? And so I just want to share with you the mission statement to extend what actually we're doing here. As I mentioned before, how important emotions are as a tool. I think it's actually very important that we explore the emotional impact of light further, so we understand better how we can use light for this. And by exploring the emotional impact of light, we actually have the chance to create out-of-the-box lighting solutions. We will not do that by saying, oh, that's already there, let's make it a little bit cheaper. Oh, this is here, we can make it a little better. I am not interested in this. Everything we do in the Lightbridge is based upon fundamental research, and that we actually can use this to really make things different, better. Yes, it means change. Yes, it means we can make stuff better. Yes, that means it's going to be really exciting, and maybe and hopefully everybody's going to be able to enjoy these things. So we do this fundamental research, right? We do this with cognitive psychology to understand how light works. We obviously talk with a lot of artists. We work together with a lot of filmmakers. And obviously it's a lot about on-set workflow, because it has to be like a pen, like a paintbrush. You can't think about something when you're painting. You can't think about the tool. So it can't be in the way. And we believe that sharing these great ideas will bring even greater ideas, which is really important. It's not about we come up with something, we patent it, we bring it out. It's really important to say, what do you think about this? And people come to us and say, hey, Jacob, we've got an idea. And so this exchanging, I think, that just gives me life to no end, right? And because a tool is only innovative as its visionary thought behind it. And I think that's always the core of what you will feel. There's always the soul in the products we do, is always this visionary thought, this new exciting idea that we want to work with. So it's 20 years of research that we have put into with Christian together in how natural light looks. So Christian asked himself the question, what is actually natural light? And here we go over to the topic. What we want to talk today about is reverse engineering, the standard industry workflow of lighting, to come up with better solutions. And the reason we decided to do this today was because we posted something a few weeks ago, something out of actually a presentation I do, and it wasn't very clear to understand it without me talking about it. So if okay with you, I'll talk to the slides to give you a better idea what this post was about. So let's hop into this. This is Christian Berger, my younger self here as well, and we were still really into prototyping with the reflectors. So this is basically what this was all about. And Christian always was asking, obsessed with the question, what is natural light? What do I like about this? So fundamental, right? What do I like? What is natural light? Why does this look natural? But even Leonardo da Vinci already was doing this. So he was going back and saying, why do we have shadows in different brightnesses? And he really looked at it fundamentally, and we know how amazing this person was and what he was able to achieve in his life because he dared to ask those really basic questions. So, I mean, there's something really basic about this too, the way Christian talked with me when we were doing films, right? And I think we can't shy away from being so fundamental and so basic when we ask ourselves the question. So Christian sent this to me and said, Jacob, I love this. I love the blue light in the front and the warm light in the back because it's the skylight in the front and it's the sun in the back. I just love how these colors interact, and I want to use this to tell a story. I want to use this to do emotion. So that's exactly what we did on By the Sea. We used the sunlight coming in, the warm light with the reflectors, and then if you look over here on Brad's shoulder, the blue light actually, that is the real sky. So we created rigs to actually be able to do this, to keep the blue light, because that's what Christian wanted to have. So that's so fundamental, so basic. What do I like? You know, this Christian calls it the childish view. He always wants to keep that inner child to look, to be excited about something. And I think that's really important and can help us to come up with new things in this way. And if the internet connection lets me. Let me see. Here we go. It does not let me do it. We will post a video online that's going to show the video I wanted to show. And basically this video was about Christian first time seeing light, shooting a documentary that he loved. And it was a really old farm shack, and light came in and it blew up right in a pool of milk there because the kids were milking the cows. And he said, oh my God, this is the best reflector ever. I can use it in frame, I can use it. It's lighting up the scene, which is absolutely amazing. So we will post this video because we have a little bit of internet issues these days over here. So, okay, so what that all comes down to when we talk about this pool of light in this milk, right? It becomes a reflector. So, you know, using reflectors is nothing new, but what we're doing in the Lightbridge now is taking these reflectors to the next level, saying this pool of milk actually becomes your key light, right? So we had to make a key light that is so precise, so perfect, where actually it doesn't become a little bounce board. So it becomes this highly, intuitive tool that does a lot of great things for us without getting too technical for this. But I know what you're going to be saying is like, look, Jacob, reflectors are nothing new. We've been using them for a really long time. And that's very true. Reflectors have been around for ages. I even now saw a colleague sent me some pictures from the Vikings. They're already building these mirrors to burn ships. So like this idea to reflect light, it's been around forever. But what we can do with it now, we'll look in the course of this online session here. So anyway, it was time to upgrade, right, these old reflectors. And why? Because it was about Christian's idea to make a really natural looking light. So, and do this like in a documentary style. He wanted to keep the room free, he wanted to keep it empty. And he wasn't happy with the standard workflow, the way things were going. So he was looking at the stuff and saying, I know I want all this soft light, I want to be able to control it, I have all this stuff standing around, but I want to have the same control, I want to have it faster, I want to have it with more efficiency, which sounds crazy. You can't have everything in this life, you know, there is a certain limitation there. My standard classical gaffer mind told me. But going back to this, we did compare it to cars when we started this process. To say, when we look back at those old cars, right, a little bit clumsy looking maybe. Why? Of course, no need to think about aerodynamics. The wheels aren't strong, the motor isn't strong. It is what it is, right? And at the time we were saying, cool, it is what it is, but this is a car. But honestly, it's a little bit clumsy, right, when you look at this. And when we look at lighting, you know, it's a little bit the same thing. It's like, you know, there's a lot of stuff standing around to create an image just around here. And if I may say so, maybe this is also a little bit clumsy. And if you look at this the same way Christian looked at a set and he said, well, look, I want to take all this stuff away, but I still want to have the control. I want to have the diffusion. So how can you do this? So we went back to the car industry and said, how did the car industry come from one to the next and made that possible? It was so clear. It was about airflow. Take the aerodynamic. Don't put a car into the wind. Make it glide through the wind. Make sure that nothing hits the air so the airflow is free. And all of a sudden you can create faster driving cars with less energy consumption just because they took care of the airflow. And that was the sparking idea, saying, oh my God, let's put nothing in the way of light. Let us use light just the way sunlight comes in. There's nothing in the way of the sunlight. It just does what it does and it looks gorgeous. So why can't we do the same thing? So we did the same thing with the reflectors. We said we would take a light source, push it into a reflector, put nothing in the way, but the reflectors to be so good that it actually gives you diffusion and the control of the light. So to go back to the subject of reverse engineering, just to talk you through the process, we'll do it physically in a moment as well. So we have a person we want to light. We have a light source. We put on the light source. It hits the person. It's hard. Shadows aren't beautiful. We don't like it. We say, okay, no problem. We got tools for this. We got softboxes. We'll put on the softbox. Taking up already more space in the room, obviously. We put the softbox on and say, man, it's better, but you know, the size, we need more volume. It just doesn't fill, it doesn't wrap beautifully. No problem. We got tools for this. Let's put a butterfly. Put up the butterfly here, and then suddenly, oh, it's all creamy and it's beautiful. Finally, we got where we need to go. But the next question comes. Well, now it's all over the place, isn't it? We only want it on the face. We don't want it on the back wall. We don't want it all over the space. We got to take this away again. So the whole thing starts with saying, okay, no problem. We have tools for this. We can put up flags. We can put up frames. We can put up gobos. We can cut the light to what we want. But honestly, efficiency, not a part of the game, is it? I mean, just think about this being, let's say, a 300 watt or a 1K watt LED bulb, right? Coming down there. How much watts do you think is on this face? How much light are we losing by this process? It's maybe 5% of the light left on the face, that's all. We have to use really strong light sources to pull this off. And we need a lot of gear and a lot of time. So the whole idea was to say, let's put this away. So what are we going to do? We're going to take the flags away. I know it's spilling all over the place. Let's put the frame away. I know it's not soft enough. Let's take the softbox away. I know it's still going to be way too hard, even with it on, but let's put it away. And then we look at the light source. And then we say, oh my God, the problem that we had was the light source. The problem we had is we were looking at symptoms, but we're looking at the cause of the problem. And that's the core of reverse engineering. Let's ask fundamental questions. Let's push ourselves through the fear of saying, this is my job, this is the way I do things. Let go and say, go through this and say, what were we able to do to make this vision possible for Christian? Let's take away the stuff, let's figure out how we can create a light source that really works. So, last part of the theoretical part, we'll obviously have a look at it in the physical as well. So here we have seen Bert Riskens lit at a Gaffer, the guy who made the Gaffers control. Beautiful room, lights coming in, it's bouncing all around the place, looks gorgeous, right? When the camera moves back, you can see, oh, it's a big space that's being lit, right? The lights coming in, looks gorgeous, everything here, it's even bright outside, fantastic, must be day or whatever it is. But what I'm telling you is, it's 2 lights and 2 reflectors. That's all it took to light this. And you think, okay, well, this is not the way we would usually light this. How is this possible? Let's have a look at this. So here again, our scene, and here again, the setup. Look at this, 2 lights, 2 reflectors. It's lit. Now, how can that work? Why don't we need condors? Why don't we need butterflies? Why don't we need flags? Why don't we need all this stuff to make this possible? All of a sudden, it works without it. What's behind this? Well, that's the core of the reverse engineering. To say not only how do we create high-tech surfaces that actually only take 3% light loss, give you control over diffused light, are spill light free, but at the same time, coming with this, it has a lot to do to really understand the fundamentals of how light works and how the flow of light is. Because that means the light goes up, it bounces not only on the reflectors, it bounces off the big surfaces as well as the house, and then it comes back down again. So if you look at this in close-up, lights, we use the bounce off the house, we use 2 diff 2s for the beams, see how easy it is to rig this, to push this into the room. And now look at the room. That's all that happens. So why is it bright outside? Well, we're bouncing off the other house, right? If you look at this here, this bounce is this light over there. So we're not taking away this light. We're using every little bit of it. We're bouncing off the house, we're pushing outside. The beams coming in, of course, are our 2 reflectors. They're giving us all the light inside. And then you're going to say, well, how is that possible? How can we go to that part of saying that this whole room is lit? Well, here's something that we found out in fundamental research, asking really basic questions. Why does this look natural? Why does sun look natural? Why don't we need fill light when the sunlight comes into the room? And the key is secondary light sources. So yes, even if we only have two 18Ks and two reflectors, and the key light is our reflector at that point, we're only using merely the energy from the light sources to go into the reflectors and bouncing off the wall. It all comes down to using secondary light sources. What is this? Well, it's what I told you and I sadly couldn't show you, the bottle of milk that bounced into, but the secondary light sources are the floor here, or the wall here. So the light is bouncing off the floor, bouncing up here. The light is bouncing off the floor here, onto the wall, up here, into the top part of the gallery, onto the ceiling. So all of this becomes one flow, and the room itself is lighting itself. So what does that mean? You can look really good in front of your directors. You can look really good for your DPs because you can light stuff where suddenly you've got all the set free to shoot wherever you want. It's really great for the actors. They're going to come back to say, "It's amazing, isn't it, huh? I finally have placed a light." We had this with Angie too, was like, "Are we lit?" Say, "Yeah, it looks gorgeous." And say, "But the set's free." "Yeah, I can move it there." "Sure, you can move it there." Because we lit the whole room in harmony to make this possible. And this is the most important thing, the way the light flows in the room. So we learned two things. One is, take your reflectors, use all the light that's coming out of your source of light, use the reflectors as your key light, make sure your secondary light sources are working correct, meaning that it bounces nicely. Where's the light hitting the floor? Is it going to hit the wall? Is it going to come up here? And there's a third thing. This all only works in harmony. That means the relationship of the brightness here has to match the relationship of the brightness here, so this is going to work. And this trick only works because your light is far away. Just think about the sun. The sun's only going to work because it's so far away to be able to light where you are at. So to put the light source as far away as possible, sometimes we need cranes, right? We have to take them as far away as possible. We don't always have this possibility. By taking cranes far away again, remember, we're adding more gear. We're giving us less control on set. We want to keep our gear as close as possible to set to be able to control it fastly. So the trick here is, and I'll go to another frame now to show you, is the virtual light source. Maybe I'll go back. So here is your origin, right? Here's your reflector. Actually, virtually, your light source is way over there. It's like in a mirror. When you look into the mirror, you look like you're actually beyond the wall. The same thing with the reflector. The light's hitting the mirror, and the light source actually feels like it's above the ceiling. In a huge crane, something maybe we couldn't even afford for the show. So just to demonstrate this here, we have a light source down here on the floor. We have one stand with a reflector on the top. So let's say the stand is 6 meters, the land's down below. Virtually, your light's at 12 meters height. So this light feels much further away. What does this mean? This means you keep your control, you just pan at 6 meters height, and suddenly your light that feels all the way up here gives you all the possibility to move it around. You have less fall off over here because it's evenly spread, like putting lights far away. With this evenly spread light, inverse square law, if you want to use terms of physics, gives you the chance that the secondary light sources all fall into harmony, give you the chance that actors and actresses can move around the room. They're not going to feel sorry when they go towards the light source. So that's that. If any questions come up, we got the thing over here I can watch, and I'll answer everything that I can, of course. Okay, here we go. So precision reflectors, what it comes down to. They become your new key light. And that's what we're going to look at right now in this case. And so we're going to move positions. I'm going to take the Gaffers control, turn on the Q5 over here. No, wrong one, of course. There we go. Let me take down this. Perfect. Oopsie. Good. Okay, so what do we have here? We want to have a chair, and we want to have it nice and soft. So that's basically what we want to have. And what Abel set up today was to say we want to cut the light, right? We don't want to have it too far over here in the wall. We don't want to have it over here. So let's go through the process of reverse engineering. Let's go through the process of saying, I'm sitting here in the light, all is good, my shadow's halfway okay, for whatever that means here, and that's that. So, but another thing is, I want to talk with a person over here, a beautiful person sitting over there. I want to say I love you. All I'm seeing is I have glare in the face. I've got Stan standing here. We know this from set, right? We ask a lot from actors and actresses. We want to give them the space to work and to move around. So let's walk through the process. Let's say this is in the way because somebody's sitting here who wants to talk to you. It's in the eye line, right? Okay, fine. Let's take this away. Let's move it up. Yeah, it's all over the place now. We don't like it, but we can't have the stand here. So we put it away. You can leave it not too far. We'll put them back in again. Okay, that's good. Okay, now we say, well, maybe we can live with this, right? Maybe the actor is going to move around. We say, we need a space here. Let's say that actor has to exit here, right? So, okay, we can't put the flag here. Let's take it away. So we take the flag, and we put this away. It's okay, more space, but obviously the light's everywhere at this time, right? At this time, it's a blob of light. There's no control. There's even bounce back from the frame. As you can see, there's something that, it's not a nice little bouncy little thing here. At the same time, this diffusion frame. And so it's all over the place. So just to walk through the process, let's take this away as well. Okay, and here we go. So this is the basic reality. Actually, a cool light from Felix, nice little Fresnel, but the shadows are much too hard. If I sit in here compared to what we had earlier, wow, right? It is what it is, right? So we don't like this. So just to walk through the procedure that I talked around earlier, let's say this is far too hard. We need a much softer light. Okay, let's bring in the frame. That's what we're used to. And you know what the strange thing is with workflows that we're used to? We think they're fast. Maybe they're not even fast at all compared to other stuff. But, and here's the thing, because we're used to it, we think it's fast. The first AD knows how it's going to be. So they know the time frame. They're going to be able to judge this. So this is the reason it makes us feel safe. That's the reason it gives us the feeling of this is okay, even if it's clumsy, even if it takes up space, even if it doesn't work the way it maybe should do. That's the way we learned it. That's the way I learned it. So it's cool. Let's keep it this way. So let's say we need a cider. Taking the flag. Okay, no problem. Everybody waits a minute. Wow, the flag's already here. Those guys are fast. They prepared before the show started. Amazing. So that feels like fast. In reality, sorry, you're sitting here disturbing the actress. Then I don't have enough space to work here. Okay, here we go. Let me come in a little bit further here, and now we cut it. There we go, and here's the cut. Okay. Taking up more space. Now we said again, well, it's all the way in the background. We need to cut it more. Let's cut the light source more. No worries. Again, really fast. We're totally prepped. We can do it like this. Is this really fast? Is this a really nice, easy workflow? We don't know. We're used to it, right? Okay, here we go. Done, right? That's the way we learned it. So here comes the process in saying where Christian said, I had enough of this. I'm not going to do this. I want to keep my set free the way I had in documentary. This doesn't even look natural anymore because the fall off doesn't work. We want to give the feeling of more distance even if we don't have the space in the room. So let's go back this step and say, we're able to learn. We do it all the time. We went through DMX, we went through LEDs. We can learn a lot of stuff. We can use and learn a new way to use reflectors to make them your key light. So let's walk back again. Okay, let's clear the rubbish out of the frame. There we go. So here we go. So now we got the frame. We took away the cuts and we know what we actually liked, right? We liked that the cut was here. We liked that the cut was over here. So we want to have this, right? But we don't want to have all the stuff around and we don't want to have all the bounce of the stuff around. So this is actually what we then did with the reflectors. We had to put the diffusion and the control into one surface. And that's basically what CRLS is all about. So to do this, we take out a frame. As maybe Louisa can pan over a little bit to show the wall. We're almost backed up to the wall, right? We don't have a lot of space here. So it's not like, let's just take the light source further away. It's not possible. At the same time, we say, well, we want to have the feeling that it is further away, right? Than it is. Okay, so what can we do? So the basic new workflow, easy to do, is to say, well, light source is not going to be where it actually has to hit the chair. We're not going to use this as our key light anymore. This becomes our initial light source. So what we're going to do is, we're going to take our light source, take it off the stand, mount it at the bottom of the stand. So, there we go. Put it on here. And now we're going to light straight up. So, and now what we're going to do is, we're going to take a nice little reflector. Awesome. Thank you. And we're going to put that onto, I'm going to go over here so you can see more. And we're going to put it onto the stand. So, there we go. So, and I'm going to take this reflector, I'm going to pan it down. And look at this. With one movement, we suddenly got diffused, soft light, and it's controllable. I can say I want it over here, I want it over here, I can pan it. And I can go back again and maybe say, Let's make more of this light source over here. We can pan it down. And now I can sit here. So what's happening here is this light source doesn't feel like it's right over there. This light source feels like it's in double distance, like it's far beyond the room. Why? Because virtually a light's down there. It's reflecting into the reflector. It's going to be, feels like it's going to be all the way back there, and then it's coming back to the set. And that's basically it. And from there you can say diffusion 2, you want to go harder, you can go to diffusion 1, diffusion 0, a real mirror replacement. You can even go up the scale, you can go diffusion 3 or super wide to diffusion number 4. That's basically the idea of reverse engineering. How can we take something we like, but make it simpler, easier, and better? Like, just think of the great Mercedes car we saw. How can we use less energy and drive even faster and still be driving a car? Well, that's exactly what we're doing right here. We're still lighting with less energy, with faster speed, giving us more time for the control, giving us more time to create scenes the way we want to create them. And that's basically it. What happens are little new stuff we learn with the workflow, like all of a sudden those barn doors, I'm getting a little bit of bounce back from the barn door. So we have to open this up a little bit. So we have to take care a little bit of our light sources. So you can use all light sources with the reflectors. That's clear inside. If we are dealing with spill light, we recommend taking really high quality light sources, ideally Licos, because you can cut the blades down to whatever it is. So what you're going to say now is, I have to look at the watch first before I continue. Sorry. Okay, we're good. So what you're going to say now is, Jacob, that's all good. But I saw a picture earlier where you said we don't need all this stuff, and you showed me an 8x8 frame, in front of a person. That wraparound is not wrapping around the way it is here. That's absolutely true. This reflector is the same as physics. It does not break the law of physics. It gives you, depending on the size, a certain amount of wraparound. The harder the reflector is, obviously, the less wrap here it's going to be, the more diffused the light source is, the more wrap it's going to be, and obviously the bigger you go in scale, the more softer it's going to feel. Here comes this thing of size. The closer this reflector is, the bigger it's going to feel for me, right? The further it's away, the bigger reflector I'm going to need, the bigger bounce I'm going to need to give a feeling of the same size. So this 50 by 50 centimeter reflector, close to 2 by 2 feet, I would need a close to 4 by 4 feet reflector in double distance. And it's going to need us 8 by 8, even if you go one distance further behind, right? So because it's not going to wrap around anymore. Same thing with the reflectors. But remember how suddenly the whole room looked lit? Because I was talking about secondary light sources, how the light is bouncing off the floor, coming to my face. It's going to be a difference if I have a white here on the floor, if I'm going to have a black here on the floor. Yes, this is the same thing. So this system, of course, is a tool like everything else. It's not going to replace everything. It's great to use it additionally, especially if you say, look, I need a basic fill light, and I want to add something in. With Christian, when I showed you the picture with Angie Jolie and Brad Pitt, we used the sky as fill light. But of course, it's great to combine these things. So I quickly want to show you this, what this actually means when we start combining these light sources. When you say you want to have something diffused, maybe something bigger and wrappier, you could come closer, you could go more diffused, or you can go a little bit further away, use a frame and put a reflector in front of it, just to give you that level. So I'm sure you notice when you're shooting and it looks gorgeous, although you only have one light outside and it's lighting in. You say, oh my God, it's beautiful, I got some sunny splash, it's perfect. Then the sun leaves you, and the sun goes down, and the sky goes dark, and suddenly it looks horrible. The light looks far too bright, it doesn't match it. So the magic, what it comes down to is, it's always balancing fill light and key light. And this balance, how this works together, is going to give you the feeling of wrappiness, of beautiful soft light, but at the same time, it's going to give you much more control than if you just put up a big frame over here, because the big frame is a big frame over here, but as soon as you add different layers to each other, it's going to give you more control, more quality, and just a fast swap even of moods, of scenes. It gives you a chance to play around in your dimmer board to have a look at different moods, how they make you feel. So I quickly want to show you this, how we do the standard setups from outside, for example, lighting into a window, just to get a basic idea how we can add different things together. So this does not become, let's say, a religion. It's only like this. No, of course not. It's a tool. So the way we can add it and do things on is actually what it's about. And just to point it out again, because I'm so proud about this, if you look at the reflector from the side, you have to tell me if you can see it. So I've got soft light here, right? I can see it on the floor. But if you look, can you see into the reflector from here? Yeah? See how dark it is? There's no light going in your direction. Why? Because it's an engineered surface. What it means is we engineered the surface in a way so light goes in, it comes back diffused, but only in a certain direction angle. So it's directional, diffused light, giving you soft, beautiful light over here, but no spill light over here. And that's the reason you do not need the frames and the flags and all the stuff that comes with it, because this takes care of it, just in terms of what we were looking at before. Let's go have a look outside of the studio and see what that does, just in terms of the light coming in. I'll give you this here. Cheers. Perfect. So I'm going to turn on outside a vortex. So if we look outside, what we can see is we've got a vortex, and we're lighting into, take this out for a moment, we're not using this for now. We're just lighting into a 6x standard, right? Vortex over here, bouncing into 6x, giving you soft light inside, basically. Nice little fill light, right? If you set the angle correctly with the butterfly, you can get a nice cut. You can decide the height of the cut, and it's going to be soft light coming in, standard. And now if you want to say, well, this is great, Jacob, but now I need the feeling of the sun. I need to have the light feeling as far away as possible. So, and I don't have enough space. You see, we're here in a workshop over here, so we don't have too much space over here. So how can we enhance the distance? The way to do this is, it's actually already here in frame. It's cool. We got here a Q10, as far away as, say, we could at the time. And now we're going to light into the reflector. So this light source is not going to feel like it's here. It's going to feel like it's far beyond the butterfly, all the way over here, lighting into the set. It's always the trick when you have precision reflectors. So here we go. Now turn on the correct light source. There we go. We see we're adding a nice little tungsten touch, just to give you a feeling of what it is. And now we're just going to pan the diffusion too, again, just to stay with the same diffusion levels. Obviously, it's nice and easy to swap them. And yeah, now we got this sunlit light. Look, there's this warm light coming in. It feels like maybe a last light's coming from somewhere, and it's all the way cool around. Remember when I showed you the picture of saying what natural light looks like? It's not only about distance, it's about mixture of colors. It's a lot of, natural light is very complex when you start looking at it. So to have this cool light plus this warm light really gives you the chance to play. And just to show you again, I'll just sit down, maybe even. If I sit down over here and I turn down the Q10, okay, now I'm hearing the cool light, right? Just a bounce. And now I can start turning on the Q10, giving us a nice, beautiful day. And see how it feels like it's getting brighter and brighter outside. And it doesn't feel like this light source is like a meter away, like, I don't know, 4 feet from the window. It really feels further away. And that's the amazing thing. And by doing this, it gives us actually the chance, go back to a setting, it gives us just the chance to actually say, I can move towards the window. Shadows are going to look nice. I'm not going to feel like I'm burned out, because we make our light sources feel further away. This is a great way to give you any kinds of moods you want, right? Because by setting it up like this, you can say, you know what, I want it more cooler. Okay, no problem, I can give it cooler. We got a nice little, okay, I'm taking the vortex really cool. I'm taking it up to 10K, right? Okay, there we go. And now if Louisa comes in again, here's the end of the iPad, obviously at some point. I'll turn off the Q10 again, really cool inside. And now if we turn on 10K, now we're gonna add the Q10 with 2K. It's this really warm to cool extreme feeling. So you see how much, and then obviously you can pan it around, you can change the angle of the reflector. So this really gives you the chance to actually say, show me this, show me that, how can I create my feeling? Opposite from just having a big frame in here. You lose all this modularity that you actually can create like this. So this gives you more creative control with less gear, with less setup time, so you can spend your time actually lighting, you can spend your time blocking, whatever it needs to be done to make it work nice. And even if it's just going back to the catering, we got long shoots, we need to take care of ourselves as well. Well, people, I hope this was helping explain what we were trying to do with the post before. As always, it's a pleasure to see you. If there's any questions comes up now, I am glad to answer them if I can. I hope this is as great for you to watch as it is for us over here to do this once per month. Yeah, so that's that. If any questions come up now, I'll be watching the frame to see what comes up. Maybe Louisa wants to come up front with the camera again. Well, thank you for the feedback, of course. That's always good to get. I love tricky questions. Come on, tell me what you didn't like. Tell me what thoughts you have. Tell me what you have the feeling what actually is something where you're still not sure if this is the right thing to do. Thank you so much for the feedback. That's amazing. When you go into a website, there's obviously a lot we can do, a lot you can watch on there too. We got our channels on there. We can do stuff. How much temperature can the reflector handle? Is a great question. Only 3% light loss means you can push 18Ks into it because only 3% will be turned into heat and the rest will be reflected. So we use 18Ks in full spot with, I don't know, 6 feet distance or something like that. There's basically no worries. Everything okay, Luisa? Okay. Wait a minute, we've got some questions coming in. We'll answer them. How would you integrate an eye light into this setup? Well, you know, the thing is, obviously, we always can hide little reflectors. We've got really small ones too. You can hide them on the set. So you actually can add some eye light. Ideally, personally, I try to use whatever light we have set up to add something into this. But that's where it's really nice to play around with the reflectors. You can pull it into the light source and out. And that way you actually can dim it as well. So that's the way you actually can say, I just want a little something in the eyes, but I don't want to brighten up the face. So there's always a nice, easy way to do this. Luisa, what's the questions?
How does it work in a dark space with actually no secondary source? It can help?
Yeah, so in really dark spaces, like really moody night scenes, for example, we really recommend Licos. Because you want no spill light, obviously, right? So the reflectors won't give it to you, but the light sources obviously will. It does make sense to clean the Licos because the dust in the Licos will give you some spill light. So that's a great way to do it. I love doing it. We even can use, you can use it with practicals. Have one light source on, add a reflector into it, and get something on from there. Yeah.
How would you integrate an eye light into this setup?
Yeah, with the eye light, yeah, we had that already. Eye lights can be really tricky if you don't want them to happen. And sometimes it falls in naturally and easy. Also, what's really interesting is, especially by using this punchy directional diffuse light, if the light comes more from the side, it actually starts to glow up the color of the iris, which looks amazing. So if your light hits it from the side, suddenly it's not a white spot inside, but the color starts to pop. And I've been trying to even find this more and more to make the color pop of the eyes more than anything else. Remote controls for yolks would be good. Yes, they are available now. You can go to Light Mover. Great question. Oh, look, Etienne's holding a reflector in his hand. So just by adding a little bit of something into it, you just can catch a little bit of something as well. So you just take your light source, catch something in there, and you can catch something additionally. Maybe, Etienne, we can do it here from the front. You just come up here. We use it from the P3. We got great people here, so we can play around. So that would be another light in the face. And if you can pan over, show Etienne. And then see, you can add a little something into this and take a little punch to add a little bit of eye light. So it's really easy to add a second reflector into the first to create a little bit of eye light. Thank you. Do you lose light? Okay, I have to see if I can scroll back now. Oh, well, now it's going, I don't know why I can't do this. Do you see the questions, Louisa? How do you tackle sunlight when it comes in? Well, when you use with sunlight, I'm sorry, I'm missing some questions. If you could just repost them, that would be amazing. Yeah, 7x7 for highlights, great. When having natural light, you're obviously moving with, you know, the movement of Earth. So shooting on the north side, making sure what the clouds do, adding the reflectors into that makes sense. But of course, sometimes you just end up taking up big eyebrows, taking out the light, pushing it in. Actually, what we did outside to put it in there. Yeah, so, and then in terms of contrast, what I was talking about earlier, how the level, for example, using the skylight, that's a great thing with the reflectors, because even when you use HMIs, just take them slightly out of the reflector and put them back in. It's like dimming, right? How much light are you catching from the reflector? And that way you can get away with even one more shooting hour we had on a commercial, just by slightly taking them out, opening up the aperture a little bit to basically always keep that level straight, because we know how that doesn't work if you just have HMIs that we can't dim. Yeah. Yeah, and when the sun goes down, the sun goes down. then the big lights come out. There is a certain end to this. So Again, we're in the bounds of physics with this, but I think that's where location scouting becomes really important. Yeah, if you just could, I'm sorry, I am sure I missed 2 questions now. If you just could re-ask them. Is a custom-made round shape doable, especially for the round reflectors in the eyes? Hi, Felix. We do customs for round reflectors, so just send us an email. We've been doing them for quite some colleagues now. A few kits already, because exactly what you're saying, for the eye light. If you want to come close, if you want to really have the reflection of the eye, we can make round shapes. No worries, it's a custom order. And then that's done with. Yeah, remotes with Light Mover. They're in Amsterdam if you check them out. Matthews has them already in the States as well. Great thing. It's a remote control. You can use them for lights, and you can also use them for the reflectors as well. Any books I recommend for lighting? It's so hard. It's really. I'll do a list at one point. In every book, there's a little bit of something, but there's not one book out there that's really helped me in terms of lighting. It's a pain, sadly, because it's sometimes some stuff is hard to explain in a book, some things easier in a video. So sadly, nothing I could scream out right now that makes sense. Do you lose light? For example, when the light is far away, should you use a light mode to not lose light? When the further your light source is away, of course, inverse square law, you're going to lose light along the way. So that's happening no matter what. But with the reflectors, as you saw, you can always play around, bring your light source a little bit closer to the reflector. It's going to give you more punch. And again, it's only 3% light loss. We're used to having light modifiers with 2-stop light losses. That's 4 times the amount of light. Sometimes you lose on some grids, for example. You will not have this with reflectors, so you can use not so strong light sources to make this possible. And same thing for flashlights. They're being used a lot in photography now. So yeah, there's a lot that can be there too as well. Can you order bigger than 1 by 1 meters? So here's the thing. Because of the strike, we did not release it yet. The system's called Grid. So yes, you can now make any size you want. If you're interested in it and you have a job where you see that will be possible, we have some kits now already. Basically, the idea is you take a 4x4, a 3x3, whatever it is, the 1 by 1 meter frame, and you can click them together. And you put them on a truss and you can build any size you want. We had them on Gilded Age now for test, the quad. It's actually Manual Ability, the DP that came up with the idea that we've been working with together. And then you can make any sizes you want, even checkerboards if you want. So that works really well. And yeah, you can put them on cranes. You can put them on with the two, the forklifts up that go up high. It's just really easy to use, and can create big sources to push into them. We love them. Is there just one agent in the UK? Interesting question. Yes, ProLight Direct right now is our dealer in the UK, and yeah, Aussie has stock and is very knowledgeable, so he can help out with that. If you have any issues with that, please just reach out to us directly, and we can see how we can help along the way there. Yeah, I think, what time is it? Nothing else comes up. 48. We went through a complete hour. Yeah, I really hope this is helpful for you. If you have any things we should look at, and we do once per month. So if there's any questions you have for the next Instagram Live, please just send us to us on Instagram. Just let us know what your topic, what you would like to be talking about, what we should be talking about, and we'd love to do that. What would you recommend to start with? Cash, yes, cash is always tight. I totally feel you. It depends what you're doing. We have a starter kit that is very, from the cost side, simple to do. We have B stock available as well. The best thing is to run through Aussie to make it work. It really depends on the job, of course. What do you want to do? Tabletop stuff, smaller stuff. The bigger you get, the bigger. Starter kit is sometimes something to go with. The Go kit has a different size of reflectors on the lower end as well. So that's stuff that can be done there. And if you want to get B stock, we sometimes have some in stock, and then Aussie can get it for you over into the States too. Thanks so much, everybody. It's been a huge pleasure. Thanks to Etienne for being here. Thanks for Louisa, as always, to be here as well. We're really looking forward to see you guys again. And everybody out there, enjoy your time. I hope this is helpful. Anything comes along, just hit us a note, and we're glad to help out and support you in any way we possibly can. It's a pleasure, as always. Thank you so much. Have a good shooting day. Bye-bye.